Okay. Okay, welcome everyone. This is the user's guide to the fourth and fifth dimension, and I am interviewing Chris Gordon. Chris, welcome.
Welcome. It told me I had to say it was okay to be recorded. So that's what
Oh,
I was
yes.
doing. Sorry.
Yes, gotcha. So,
Thank you. Welcome. Welcome,
yeah.
everybody.
This is chapter 2, episode 2, whatever you want to call it. This is part 2. And I'm pleased that my lighting is better and the background is better. I worked through some video stuff. If you saw in the first one, it was very annoying that it was so dark. But anyway, it's all good. Ready for part 2. Ready,
Yeah.
Chris?
Yes, I'm ready. And so you had your darkness issues, and I had my listening issues. So just to kind of like you said, clarify, the masters, the divine realm is always talking to me from this side. And when, for those of you that are having hearing issues, if your right side is muffled or you get a ringing in your ears or a high pitch in your ears, that's the divine trying to communicate. The left side is your earthly, as far as your ears go. Even though you would think it would be opposite because of the energies, but this is actually the divine side, communication, and this is the earthly. Earthly would be like ancestors or spirit guides, animal guides, that kind of thing. So that they're talking from this side is divine, and sometimes they don't talk in English. They don't talk in pretty much any kind of earthly language. So to translate that, sometimes it's easier, especially if you see auras, it's easier to close your eyes because your auras aren't going on. This isn't going on. You can close your eyes and you can translate.
Yeah.
So if you do see me close my eyes, or you do see me do this or look, it's because either my spirit guides or my ancestors are talking to me, or the masters are talking to me. And sometimes if I look in their direction, I can concentrate better too. It's not that I can't do it. It just makes it easier for me physically. So if you see me doing kind of weird stuff, or going, that's why.
Chris, we are in good company, because I don't know if you've watched my conversations with two medical intuitives. I'm not even on the screen. I have an avatar, and I explain I don't want to put on makeup. I don't want to look weird. I just want to get right into the details. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yes.
Yes. I don't even, when I do phone sessions, I don't even look at people. I don't want to look at people. I just want to tune in and get right to it. So
even one-on-one, when we're together in the same space, most of the time I'm sitting like this with my eyes closed.
Yes.
And it takes my clients a little bit to get kind of used to it, but after they've been there one or two times, and if I do open my eyes, they go, is something wrong? Because they're so used to me having my eyes closed most of the time. But I felt like for the video, I at least needed to try to open them up every now and then anyway.
Yeah. We're putting in the effort.
Putting in the effort, guys. We're trying here. So yeah, but it's fun. All of it's just fun.
It is 100%.
So there was a question the other night. This beautiful lady and I were in a meeting together the other night, and there was a question put to the group of, so how bad off do you believe the world to be?
Yeah.
And several of us answered, not at all. That this was like the best time to be alive, because it's going to be a really long time before humans get to live through another evolution. Mm-hmm. So yeah, what we perceive is fearful sometimes, not positive in a lot of situations, but those things have to happen for us to move into this new fourth and fifth dimension energy, and all that 3-dimension energy has to come up. So when that happened, and the answer you gave was so absolutely beautiful that I just had to bring that up. That was the one note I had of the one thing I wanted to definitely touch base on, was that this is not a fearful time. We can take ourselves there, most definitely. And people are doing things that are not nice. Nobody's disputing that. But these not nice things have to happen so that we can see them, first of all, and clean them up. You cannot clean something if you don't know it's dirty. You know, if you live in a dark space and you can't see the dust until somebody comes in and opens the curtains, you don't even know that it's dusty. And when you have lived in a particular energy or a particular dusty house or whatever, it becomes part of just the norm. And to change that norm, you have to put light on it. So we are getting to do something that will not be done again for a very long time, and hasn't been done before us for a very long time. So we are so privileged to be a part of this experience, the good, the bad, and the absolute nothing. You know, we have the times when we feel like nothing's happening. We have times when we feel like, wow, everything's so exciting. We have times when we just want to go hide in the closet. We are just really privileged to be alive in this time. And you gave a beautiful answer, and of how it all is just working in divine order. And I just wanted to thank you for that, for the other night, and for bringing that to light for some people in the group that couldn't see that at that point. So thank you.
Well, thank you. I'm happy to shed light on things.
You did an excellent job. Thank you.
So, how do you want to be, like, do you have anything that the masters want to start with, or do we want to start with some questions from me?
They say start with questions from you.
Okay.
And then they will always get their 2 cents worth in at some point.
Okay. All right. So I'll look at my list here. So there's a couple of bullet points that I wrote down that I'd like to touch on today, just to clarify for everyone. You talk about the 68 percenters. So I was wondering, if we could categorize or describe what that percentage is for everyone, what that means, and then where the rest of the 100%, what the breakdown is.
Yes, ma'am. I'll be happy to. The 68% is literally, and so all of these numbers come from people who do these statistics, and they measure energy, and so they're everybody from your mathematicians to your quantum physicists to your excuse me, I have to plug you in. I forgot to do that before we started. So they come from a lot of places, and just like any other statistic, they're put together by people who study these things. I don't just pull numbers out of thin air. Okay. And 68%, and I haven't checked it lately, but and lately means in the past 2 to 3 days. But 68% of the entire planet is still living in a very 3-dimensional space.
Okay.
They have not had the opportunity, for whatever reason, to see that something else is out there, besides the way we have lived for the past several thousand years, okay, in that 3D energy. Sometimes it drops a little bit, but then if something really fearful happens in the world, it'll go back up. So it takes it a while to drop. It's not necessarily about how many people are awake. or how many people are seeing that, oh, I'm not sure I really believe this anymore, or I'm not really sure that this is what I signed up for when I agreed to do, whatever. So anything that is fearful, anything that is of that three-dimensional energy, which is about fear. Three-dimensional energy is about competition. It's about greed. It's control. You can keep on going. Those aren't the only ones, but that kind of gives you an idea of what three-dimensional energy is about. We even had a book that said, about breaking the glass ceiling. There's all kinds of books that were written in that three-dimensional energy pre-2020 that talk about that energy and understanding that eventually there's going to be something else out there that's going to come, and we need to kind of be prepared for it. Mm-hmm. So the people that kind of understood that, we still understood it as something that was coming. Nobody knew exactly how it felt, what it looked like, how it was going to work until 2020, because that energy wasn't obtainable on this planet. Now, okay, you could have taken an astral projection and gone to the fourth dimension. It's not that the dimensions didn't exist, it's that the dimensions didn't exist physically on Earth.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So if you are in fear, if you are in anger, if you are in any of those things, if you are in judgment, especially judgment real big right now, when we throw those words out there, mm-hmm, we are using our three-dimensional energy. Mm-hmm. We are, and what happens is if we are basically fourth dimensional energy, and everybody on the planet, no matter what dimension you're in, we still have our threads of three-dimensional energy. It's going to take longer than 4.5, 5 years to get rid of all the 3D that we've collected in thousands of years through our DNA, our RNA, and everything else. So when we do that, we're kind of putting our residual 3D energy out there, and people in the 3D world are feeding off of that, because Earth herself is not creating three-dimensional energy that sustains human life. That okay, part of her energy is gone. When she shifted her axis, and her true north isn't true north anymore. When that happened, that kind of energy stopped being created for human beings. Mm-hmm. So they feed off each other. Mm-hmm. And then when we feed them with our own 3D energy, that's like giving them Wheaties on steroids. So the less we pay attention to those fearful things, the faster those things will go away. And we say, oh, but I can't imagine, what is it going to look like? How are we going to get rid of this? Or prisons were asked the other day. Well, when people get, the majority of people get into 4D energy, there won't be the need for the prisons. The energy itself will change our perspective. People won't want to be mean to each other. People won't want to be narcissists. All of those energies are in 3D. So when we don't create 3D energy, those things can't live. If you don't feed it, it can't live. Right. So that's the 68%. And we see it fluctuating. It is going to go down fairly soon. That's kind of an educated guess on my part, just from watching it go down in past years. We just have had a couple of things that have been really fearful for people. And so they question. And when they question, they doubt. And doubt is a three-dimensional energy. So that kind of puts them back into that 68%. And then the 32% is divided into three categories. You have the first category They are they're really beginning to leave a lot of their belief systems. They're changing, whether it's religion, political, medical, it doesn't matter. The things that they've always done, that their parents always did, that their grandparents always did, etc. That phrase, well, I have to do it because my parents always did it, or whoever.
Mhm.
They're beginning to shift away from that, and they're beginning to see that, oh, it's not nice to do this, and why was it nice or funny before? Nobody did anything wrong. So one of the things in the class I'm taking, that one of our assignments was to watch old movies, and we had a list. We had to choose from the list. So many old movies or so many old TV shows, and write a paper on how we used to view the show or the movie, how we thought we were gonna enjoy or whatever the TV show or the movie, and how we actually enjoyed the TV or the movie. And what happened is, depending on the subject matter, what we thought was funny back in the 1980s, 90s, whatever, even the early 2000s, not funny now.
Yeah.
So as we change, so that's the first group of the fourth dimensioners, okay, or the 32%.
Mhm.
The second one, I call them teachers. They are, they totally get it. They still have struggles, and they, but most of their day, at least 50, 55, 60% of their day is spent in the fourth dimension. And then the third group, they're pretty much high fourth dimension, or spending most of their day in the fifth dimension. So it's still three groups, but the frequency is there. So as long as you're in that frequency, it really doesn't matter where you are in that. As long as you're in that fourth dimension, you are a part of that piece of the evolution that is going to be there to improve mankind in some way, shape, or form. So that when I talk about the 68%, those are the people that are just mired in 3D, and they can't help it. They're not doing anything wrong. They're not bullies. They're not mean. They're living in an energy that they feel every day is dying. And they're afraid, they're scared, they don't know what to do. And their actions for us are absolutely not acceptable, but we can't, but that makes us judgmental at that point. So now we're dipping into our 3D because they cannot help themselves.
Mhm.
So someone asked me yesterday, they said, so, okay, so what do we do for them? The only thing we can do for them is for us to continue living and growing in our 4 and 5D energies, because energy follows energy. It's physics. Energy follows energy. And the more positive this energy over here is, the higher of the 68% are going to go, oh, wait a minute, I really like that. And we know this to be true. We don't even have to have science to tell us. People will come up and they will say, oh my gosh, Becky, you give the best hugs. Can we just hug a minute? They feel something in you that is different than them. And they may not be able to explain it. They may not be able to rationalize it. But every time they see you, they'll even come across the room at a great speed to get a hug from you, because they know Becky lives in something about her is in some other place, and I want to be there. And that's what we, in the beginning of all this, we called it awakening. And it's more of a remembering. This is nothing new. So we are remembering what it was like before we became 3D individuals. So as we remember, and our memory remembers more and more, and the 3D falls away more and more, then we can begin to relearn what we have forgotten. Does that kind of answer the question?
Yes, it does. And it just creates more questions. Okay. So what was my first comment about that? So it's so funny. I shouldn't be surprised anymore. Just yesterday, so you just mentioned True North. Just yesterday, I created an affirmation out of the clear blue, and I said, "I am True North." Those words don't normally come out of my mouth. And then you just mentioned it, so I'm thinking, okay, so now we have a conversation piece. So and this brings me to, so 3D. So I'm trying to understand, and our audience to help understand and unpack this. Are you telling me that the 3D energy, it sounds to it, am I correct that because of the Earth's axis, that's what created the 3D in the first place, the angling?
Necessarily, all ages. It's all about ages. So we were in the age
Mhm.
of Aries, and then Pisces. Now we're in the age of Aquarius. Ages are literally planetary alignments. It's astronomy. It's not astrology or
Okay.
anything else. It's but that that shift does create a change in the planetary energies. So yes, it when she shifted, it was her shifting out of her, it was her evolution. So
Okay.
it was Gaia shifting out of her 3D energy format
Okay.
into alignment with the universe, who was coming into a 5D, 6D universe, and Gaia shifted. So and you can, NASA has photos. I mean, you can find these anywhere. What where the caps were, they're here and here. I mean,
Mhm.
that's probably way over exaggerated, but they're here and here, and we are getting a new North Pole, South Pole.
Okay.
So with global warming, even
Yeah.
we are going to see water rise because the angle of the sun is going to be different on these two caps because everything shifted.
Mm-hmm.
So when we see more flooding, um, are we good stewards of our earth? No. But are we creating everything that she's going through? No. She is creating her own energy shift. So
Yeah.
she is going through the very same thing that we are going through.
Mhm.
She's just been doing it since 2012, and we've only been doing it since 2020. She had to get a good jump on it, and there had to be something for us to feel and grow into. So the planets, but they're still locking themselves in. Every now and then we'll have, you know, multiple planets on one side of the sun,
Mhm.
or planets that you didn't used to see with the naked eye. Now you can see quite clearly when you go out, and planets that you used to see all the time,
Mhm.
you see them, but you don't see them as often as you used to. It is a planetary realignment, which creates a new energy.
Okay. So when we go back thousands of years ago, and even, up until today, I've always wondered and have been disgusted and all of those things of why are we treating each other that way, at large, when, when you hear about all the wars and how we're treating women and children, and, you name it, like the witch burning and religious, on and on and on and on, like what, and I sit there baffled, like the hell is wrong with us, like collectively, and it's so horrible and disgusting, and like why would we treat each other this way? So you're telling me that people collectively really couldn't help it that they didn't have the planetary support, the alignment in their favor, so they were just responding to the climate, so to speak?
So to speak, because Earth was a 3D planet. She is a
Okay.
learning planet of all of our planets. I mean, and there's other learning planets in other galaxies, but in ours, Earth is the planet that we come to learn or
Okay.
to have an experience. Sometimes there's nothing to learn; we just need to have an experience. Um, that is different than on some other planet. And so, or some other space, or for those who want me to call it heaven, I have no problem with that.
Yeah.
Wherever the soul or the spirit is, our essence energy is, sometimes we just want to come to earth and have this experience. And sometimes we come here to do something. Sometimes, this time around, people who have contracts have come here to do something for the betterment of mankind in the Aquarian energy.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be something very, very simple, and it can be something extremely large. Everybody's contract is different.
Okay.
And not everybody who is here right now has a contract. Everybody has an agreement, and we'll talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody has an agreement, but not everybody has a contract. But the contracts are because we come here to do something to propel humanity into a forward motion.
Yeah.
Instead of being stagnant or going backwards or whatever. And 3D frequency is a very low frequency. So when
Mm-hmm.
you're in that low frequency, there are no other options.
Okay.
So that's why nothing that we ever did actually solved anything. And the one that's the easiest for me, right at the top of my head, is Roe versus Wade. And it doesn't matter what side of the fence you're on, as far as believe, not whatever. That
Yeah.
doesn't have anything to do with it. The example is Roe versus Wade happened. It happened for a very long period of time. Age of Aquarius came in. Roe versus Wade went right back to what it was originally. Okay, so the energy, not the actual lawsuit, but the energy. So there was nothing. Then there was Roe versus Wade, and then we've gone back to exactly where we were. That's because in 3-dimensional energy, nothing ever gets solved. Band-aids all day long, but nothing ever gets solved. And you can put that, anything we've done, maybe it's not being done in this country anymore or in that country anymore, but guess what? It's being done somewhere else.
Okay.
It is why there is children are being targeted. It's maybe this isn't happening over here, but now it's happening to this group of people over here. We didn't solve anything. We either shifted it, moved it, put a Band-Aid on it for a little while.
Yeah.
But nothing ever gets changed.
I'm so glad you're putting it so bluntly, because yeah, so when you say that nothing gets solved, I mean that's my for lack of better words, my disdain for conventional medicine, because nothing's getting solved.
Right.
And yeah, that's completely three-dimensional at the core of it.
Yes, ma'am.
And it sounds like now we have the earth, based on the planetary alignment, and we have this new setup, so to speak, where it's easier for us to, when you say fourth and fifth, I'm thinking we're all going to move into more of a heart space.
Yes,
Yeah.
that is exactly what this is. So as to where one is about control being at the top, there's a better, a worse, a good, a bad, all of those polar opposites. That doesn't exist in the same frame, in the same framework.
Mhm.
Doesn't exist in 4, and especially in 5D. So we will always have, as a 3D planet, we still had one-dimensional creatures in life in 3D. We had 2-dimensional, but humans couldn't live there. 3-dimensional energy will still exist in some form for planets and animals and that kind of thing, or plants and animals, and but humans will not live in there. So there won't be this We won't need Ring doorbell cameras to see or post all over Facebook of who is this person in my yard. Nobody's going to want to go in your yard. Or other side of the coin is there's nothing in my yard that's going to hurt if somebody sits and rest for a while because they are homeless and moving across country. But at the same time, there won't be a need for homeless because that whole energy shift will change. Now, how is all this going to happen? I have no clue. But what I do know is that we already see evidence of this. So what math and science isn't already proving, human beings are beginning to prove. So we see people building tiny homes for homeless people to have, so that they can have their own neighborhood, their own community, without being invasive, but a safe, dry, warm, or cool place for them to be instead of on the streets. And we see these going up. We see container homes. That's just one of many things that we see. They're very small, and you have to look for them because the media and social media is not going to put that out there, because if they do, they lose control. They control us through fear. And I don't mean for that to sound conspiracy, because it's not. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. It's just
it is what it is.
It's just what it is.
Yeah.
For thousands of years. It's why we went from a lighter energy into a 3D energy, because at some point humans wanted to control other humans for whatever reason, whether it was to do work for them, whether it was to have more than someone else. The reasons really don't matter. But we went into this energy because control was the new God. Being the best was the new God. And so as that was created and it evolved into what we are leaving now, and we see how corrupt everything is. And when I use the word corrupt, I'm using it more for the audience than for me and you, because it's not anybody doing anything wrong. But if you choose to live in that 3-dimensional low frequency space, that's all you can do.
Yeah.
There are no other options.
Yeah. It sounds like you're kind of stuck.
Yes.
Right.
But once someone focuses and starts moving toward a 4th dimension, and I don't really prefer it this way, but it's how we measure it. We have low frequency and we have high frequency. And the higher the frequency, the closer to the other dimensions we get. Someone said yesterday, I think the veils are lifting. That's a great way to put it. It's a very earthly way to put it, but it's a great way to put it. But instead of the veils are lifting, someone else doing something, in my world, no, you are raising your frequency closer to what you see or perceive as a veil.
Yeah.
Our world is a dimension and somebody else's world is a veil. It's one of the reasons why our words and our changing our words are so important, because what one word means to you, this means here, and we're not understanding each other. It's why I'm not a big fan of texting and email. I do both.
Right.
But if we're sharing something and I use a word and it doesn't mean the same thing for you, if we're together and you hear that in my voice, you're like, wait a minute, you used the word cookie, but I think we see cookie differently. I think when I think of cookie, I see chocolate chips, and I think you see oatmeal raisins. So can we, see what cookie is? And because we don't do that, because we have so many different words that mean so many different things to so many different people, we've lost the ability to communicate with each other on a soul level.
Yeah, I've always felt that way, and I was very frustrated and upset with texting and just the cell phone in general, and yeah, social media, the whole thing. I want to just throw it out. I do. I do. I know it has value, but I'm like, this isn't the way.
And it's growing pains, and we have,
Yeah.
we haven't had this technology, and it is that 3D energy that need to control, that
Yeah.
that need to. So if I put things out here, if I um so AI has some really, really good purposes, but it's not what it's being used for right now, because the people that are really into it and using it right now, not everybody, but the majority, it's still, oh wow, I can control someone, I can do this and do this and put these two things together, and I can make you believe that the tsunami happened, that a tsunami hit in Chicago.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that's probably pretty much never going to happen unless everything else gets wiped out. I mean, I guess, yes, theoretically, all the ocean waters could get that far. Um,
Right.
but realistically, right now, today, for a tsunami to come and not hit anything but Chicago, and for that to be somebody's uh, uh, post of, oh my gosh, look what happened in Chicago today, it got flooded out. That is only to inspire fear in people.
Right.
There's no other reason to do that.
Right.
And so those people that still, the only way they feel safe is that they can cause fear in people, they're the ones that are really using it for that. That's one of the reasons it's really important for us to lower that 68% number, because people that, when you leave 68%, it's not that you don't want to do it, you would never even think of doing something like that.
Yeah.
Whole thought process of, oh, let me see who I can scare today, so I can be the
Yeah.
the head of the mountain, um
Right.
doesn't exist.
Right. Very interesting.
Yeah. So when we look at our games, look at even the children's games.
Oh yeah.
There is King of the Hill, and there is this, and that whole competitive nature of, I have to be better than you.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's nothing but a three-dimensional energy.
So, oh, there's so much I could say about this, but let me just bring myself back in for a sec. Okay, so we've talked about the 68 percenters, yes, the 32%, this 3D moving into 5D. So we're moving into fear into love, or fear into compassion. We have the supportive energy and the planetary alignment. We're kind of more set up for it so we can align to it, right,
Yes,
collectively.
ma'am.
Um, what else that I want to share with you? So there's a couple of things. You talked about, or you have talked about, these 8 words, and so that I want to talk about today, and I'd love to talk about, and that could lead into the word allow or balance. And then I do want to clarify for everyone the contract versus agreement and what that all means. So wherever you feel inspired to begin.
So several years ago, before 2012, when the planets started aligning, the universe gave us their 8, I call them, my wording, not theirs, the 8 magic words of the universe. Okay.
Okay.
And so they are, and you put the word unconditional, because that's the unconditional word, is because that's what we need to achieve to get into this 5th dimension, to get into this place of peace and harmony, and a better life.
Mhm.
Okay. So love, trust, believe, compassion, forgiveness, and gratitude.
Okay.
Those are the 6 words that we have to kind of master or graduate, or I'll let you put whatever fill in the blank there that you want to put there. And when we have accomplished that unconditional part for all of those 6 words, we then are able to allow
I see.
whatever happens, because it's not allowing things because we're not paying attention, or we don't care, or whatever. It's allowing everyone else to get there when they can get there, to hear when they can hear, to see when they can see, and understand with those 6 words, through unconditional love and compassion and trusting the universe, that the universe will guide them or send them someone to help guide them, or whatever, that I'm not in control of it. I don't need to be.
Mm-hmm.
I allow them to be who they want to be, who they need to be for that moment in time. And then once I have successfully gotten to that point, every other word I think of, they tell me no. So I've got to the point where I can unconditionally allow.
Mm-hmm.
Then what happens is I achieve balance.
I see. Gotcha.
Total balance. And it's not easy. It's kind of like, every part of our ascending into this 5th dimension, or moving into it, I have to achieve that unconditional love on a whole bunch of different levels. So I may be really good at it. Let's say if I don't know, I'll just say prejudice because I can't think of anything else. If I'm prejudiced against something, I may really make it on number 1, 2, and 6, maybe even 3 and 4. But I'm not doing well in that number 5. I just cannot, I can't forgive, or I can't, whichever one the stumbling block is. Well, I just can't. They have to know before I can do this. They have to know how badly they hurt me. They have to know. Nobody has to do anything. When I'm using the word they have to, or I have to, then I know I'm in a 3-dimensional space. But when I achieve that and I allow them to be in their frequency, and I allow myself to be in my frequency and not try to change either one of those frequencies. Mm-hmm. And frequency, vibration, you can interchange those words if you want to. They do mean a little bit different, but pretty much the same. Then I'm the one that achieves balance. I'm the one that now can really take my frequency into a completely new space. Mm-hmm. And so I may have to do this on multiple different topics, multiple mm-hmm. different emotions, multiple different stories. And long time, I'm going to say 8 years ago, they told us humans need to start taking the story out of their life experience, because a story is literally the thing we create to explain the emotions that we are having in any particular event. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So whatever the event is, whatever my emotions are, that's the story I'm going to create. So we know this is true because we could gather 15 people on a street intersection somewhere, and we could have some event happen. And then we could have 4 people come and interview those 15 people on what just happened in front of them. And you're going to get 13, 14 different stories. You're going to get 15 different stories. You're going to get 13, 14 really different stories.
Mhm.
because everybody sees it how they perceive it.
Right.
And then and they've done studies on this. And so in several studies, then they take the video of it, and let's say it's kind of like a courtroom, not really, but they show the video to these 15 people. So now they've seen it a second time and they see it on the video, and then they send them away and let them talk about it and come back and tell what they've seen. And they still don't have a complete agreement on what happened.
Mhm.
So because of our belief systems, our perceptions,
Yeah.
we do not see the same thing the same way.
But did I hear that correctly? Are you
Maybe not. Maybe me. So maybe you
well,
think I'm saying it.
no, I think it's because I'm integrating and processing. Are you it's like a paradigm shift. Are you saying like the story is actually the vehicle for the emotion, that the emotion perhaps is first in a sense, or
The emotion is first. Whatever. When I see that, I'm going to have an emotional reaction first. Let's say, because I don't want to put anything negative out there. So let's say I see a tree fall, and there's people around the tree when it falls.
Mhm.
I'm going to have an emotional reaction to that tree falling before anything else. Now, a split second, it's not anything we really consciously think of, but I'm going to have an emotional reaction. If I am a tree hugger, if I love my trees, which I do, and I do hug my trees, so I can actually say that, immediately, because that guy was standing near it or leaning on it or whatever, he caused it, let's say. My emotion for that tree is going to be that this person had something to do with it. It's been there for thousands of years. It would never have fallen if it hadn't been for him. Blah 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 blah. Okay, my brain is going to say all of that stuff that is not logical. Then I'm going to create a story around that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, by the time I tell you, yeah, this person ran up to this tree and just knocked it down. I may even have a vehicle involved by the time I finish embellishing this in my brain. And it's not something I'm consciously doing. I'm not consciously going out there to lie. It's my subconscious brain and my perception saying that tree would never have just fallen. It had green leaves on it. Well, maybe it did have green leaves on it, but maybe we had lots and lots of rain and the root system just was too close to the surface and it just couldn't support the weight of the tree.
Mm-hmm.
But that's may not be how I see it if my perception is humans bad, tree good.
Yeah.
My subconscious is gonna create a story. And then if I really don't like him because he's got on a pink and orange striped shirt and I don't like pink and orange, I really may even create this man to be a villain. And he may have been standing there trying to figure out how to save the tree before it fell.
But I don't know if that answered my question. And so what you're speaking about is the rational mind to make sense of something that someone doesn't fully understand, doesn't fully grasp, so they can feel somewhat empowered in a otherwise powerless situation for them. But what I'm wondering, to my question, which I'm not, if the emotion came first and then the story and the rationale, but I guess what I'm saying is, do we need to feel that emotion in the first place, or I don't know, I'm trying to.
The emotion is innate. Okay, we're going to feel the emotion because of our belief system. It's subconscious.
Yes,
It's
yes.
it is something that we are not in control of.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I know.
Okay, so um, if let's say my friends in one country have a that we both have a word, and well, I'll just use it. I don't, and if we need, whatever. So I have friends, and their cigarettes they call facts, and they know that in my world that creates something in me. Okay, the minute I hear the word, it's not rational. I know that's not what they mean. I know they mean cigarette, but two of them will say it just to watch, because I don't have a poker face. So they will watch, just to watch me distort my face when they say that word. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it can't go there. Okay. I know these people. I've known them almost my whole life. I know what they mean. And I know they're not being, but in my head, that emotion, I can't control it for a second or two. I mean, it's not like it's a long period of time. It may even be less than a second. Seems like hours for me, but I know it's a very, very short amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
But it still gets a reaction when they say it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We can't help that. That's that thing, that emotion. Our emotions, our belief systems, they're embedded in us.
That's a good word. Yeah.
And so the emotion will always come first, and then we wrap the story around it. And the story is that thing that I have to explain why I am feeling this way, which we really don't, but we tell ourselves, I have to explain, even if it's just to myself, why I'm having this emotion. And it, especially if it's on the negative end, like betrayal or anger or any of those, we feel the need to validate ourselves for having that emotion.
Right.
Not so much when it's positive. I can be happy just because I want to be happy. But if I'm angry about something, I always feel like, oh, I'm going to be judged.
Yeah.
If I don't validate why that emotion crept up out of me.
So it's a great word, embedded in the subconscious. I feel like that's part of maybe the programming
Yes, ma'am.
to perhaps have the opportunity to unpack and transmute, something like that, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay, I love that word, embedded. Okay. So let's I feel like we can just keep talking and keep talking. So can we go back to I love the 8 words, the 6 words, and then the 8, like, so allow and balance, or 7 and 8, that we're evolving towards,
Yeah.
right? Or moving into slowly
Yes.
but surely. You've said things like, and that's probably where we're gonna close for today, is just diving into, I've heard you say there's no more karma, I think. And then to get into soul contracts and agreements, can we break all those words down?
So we have karma. We
Okay.
don't have the karma that we used to have. So the
Okay.
sins of the father, those kinds of things, those oh, karma's going to get you. I hope I live long enough to see it. Those type of karmas are if there's any residual energy of it at all, it lives in that 68% in that 3D world.
Yeah.
We have what they call instant karma now. And I love the fact that John Lennon actually wrote a song about this long time ago. Such a visionary. If I say something, I do something, I'm in that fourth dimensional space, and it's something that, and karma isn't, we understand karma different now. It's not a punishment.
Right.
It's an energy exchange. So if I do something out of if I'm really in that fourth dimension and I'm really humming along, and then I do something intentionally, because all of a sudden I get this 3-dimensional wow that just came from nowhere. Okay. I'm going to create that myself. It's not a punishment.
Yeah.
But if I around here in within a 24-hour period or so, maybe I'll trip and fall. Nobody made me trip and fall. It's my 3D energy trying to work out this solution within itself while I'm still in a fourth dimensional space.
Right. Right.
So it's that thing that they call instant karma. And it's that thing that is there to remind us that you're leaving that. Why did you do that? And most of this is all in our subconscious. So it's not somebody going, okay, she did that, so now we're going to make her trip, break her leg. That doesn't exist.
So there's so as you're saying this, I'm thinking of one of my favorite human beings that I reference a lot, Dr. David Hawkins, and I think he passed away in 2012.
Yes, ma'am.
But you know, I just eat his books. I love him.
I do too.
So it sounds to me like using a different language, because he would say, and not to speak negatively about religion, although I can't stand it anymore, but he would talk about judgment, that people would ask him, like, what, you know, of the, you know, what we hear in religion is the judgment day. And he's like, judgment is I'm going to paraphrase, but he would say, like, judgment day is every day. And it's to your point, right? We're
Yes.
using, it's like we're living our karma in the moment. And that, you know, like the fear is, oh, when I get to heaven, I'm going to be judged by God. It's like, oh my goodness. But in reality, we judge ourselves. We are the judge, meaning if we forgive ourselves, all is forgiven. It's between us and us, or between us and God, is how I would describe that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's the instant karma you're talking about. Yeah.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yes.
So everyone has a soul agreement. When you say that, you mean that we've all agreed to be here on Earth.
Right. So
Okay.
there's a book called The Four Agreements.
Okay.
And The Four Agreements is a wonderful book, and everybody should read it. But I mention it because I don't want the two agreement things to get confused, because they're so different.
Okay.
The Four Agreements is a book about how to live your life in a positive way while you're here. And I can't remember all four of them right off the top of my head, which is sad since there's only four. But one is be impeccable with your word. One is don't take things personal. Okay. Right. So that's about how to live this agreement that we've all agreed to. So that's that. When I talk about agreements, I'm talking about before our spirit, our soul, our essence comes here to inhabit this body, we agree to gonna be Becky Roseberry. I'm going to eventually find my way to Oak Island, North Carolina. I'm gonna blah 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 blah. Okay. Those things are things we agree to. We agree to come here and leave. It's not predestined. It's not that. It's just what I agree to, and maybe I agree to help people. Maybe I agree to have a job where my job is being of service. Whatever. Those are our agreements, and we can negotiate that. You know, we negotiate things all the time. Oh, I'm going to be Chris Gordon. I'm going to be married, and whoops, sorry, can't be married right now. So I can go back and I can renegotiate those. Mm-hmm. But I've agreed to come here and not just sit in a chair and not ever do anything. Okay, I have things I'm going to accomplish. Everybody on the planet has one of those. Okay. A contract is, in addition to our agreement, those of us, especially right now when we're having an evolution, that have agreed to come here and do something for the betterment of humanity while we're here.
Okay.
Now, my contract, that's a contract. My contract may be to, I'm that person that's gonna get a few steps ahead of you because my contract is to open doors for people everywhere I go. Now, it's not just the opening of doors. That's great. That would be nice. But the contract's a little more than that. It would be because somebody I'm going to encounter along the way has a real huge humanity shift that they are going to do. And this particular day, they're just down and out. They feel horrible. And they did not succeed in what they agreed to come here to do. But this beautiful soul that opened the door changed their whole day. And in the spark of that whole day, by golly, I am going to go and do XYZ. It would never have happened if the person that didn't open the door. So that's a contract, because that contract is the thing that started that chain reaction. And so anywhere in that chain reaction, everybody involved in that chain reaction has a contract for that. And we don't have to know what our contract is. People ask me, but I want to know. It's that thing that isn't necessarily, it can be your vocation. But most of the time, it's not that thing that's your vocation, or at least it doesn't start out that way. It's that thing that you're passionate about. And it really, there are no limitations on what that is. You can be an artist because your creation will inspire somebody. Contracts are those things that we do in conjunction with other people in kind of a chain reaction or a formula that end up, before we all leave here, doing something for the betterment of humanity itself.
Okay.
Those are not negotiable. So if we do not achieve those things when we're here, that's when you get reincarnated and you come back. Because if you signed a contract, they make it easy for us to fulfill those contracts, but we have to do our part. Okay. So the reason we come back is because we didn't do our part, or we allowed a boundary to get in the way. And if there's a boundary that gets in the way between us and our contract, we know instinctively how to get around that. We, for whatever reason, chose not to. Doesn't make us bad, doesn't make us failures. And I won't even play games on my phone or my computer or with people or whatever if the word failed is in there. That word is not in my vocabulary, because there is no such thing. We don't, it's not even we don't succeed. We do not accomplish what we have set out to do, but that does not make it a failure or non-succeeding.
Right. Because correct me if I'm wrong, because the essence of the being is beyond the form, that you're eventually going to fulfill the contract either in this identity or another, right? Is that right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
And sometimes my contract may actually be agreeing to come back 3 or 4 times to actually fulfill it.
Yeah.
It's why there's no failure. So I may not know that, but I may only have enough time and space, man-made as it is, time and space in this reality to fulfill it. And it's going to take longer than that.
Yeah. Okay. I gotcha.
And so if it's going to take longer than that, I'm not going to fulfill it. If for some reason I need to leave here sooner than what was anticipated for whatever reason, not necessarily of my making, could be, but doesn't have to be. I know it's okay, because I know when I come back, I'll probably finish the contract.
Yeah.
Contracts are never those things. We don't have to worry about, oh my gosh, how many thousands of times do I need to come back? If it doesn't get fulfilled the first time, you'll fulfill it the second time.
Right.
but we will fulfill the contract. Those are not negotiable, and not everybody has one. You don't have to have one, and you're not judged or punished. You're not better for having one. You're not worse for not having one.
Right.
It's something that we agreed to do. And they're usually challenging, not always, but they're usually challenging, and on some level. And because maybe the person that is running to open the door, maybe they have really sore knees, but their desire to open that door is so much more than the desire to walk slowly to protect their knees.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So they overcome that pain for that I don't know, 4 feet or whatever to get to the door to open it for that individual.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. To change history.
Yeah.
So that would probably speak personally if I feel like this internal pressure or depression, or feel like I need to, if I feel like if mm, I don't know, I'm wondering if maybe those are the feelings that come up if I'm not in alignment with that contract, that it's almost that internal pressure, like, come on, you
That's it.
know?
That's it. And that's Becky going, okay, come on, because I really don't want to come back and do, I'm so close. I really don't want to come back and do 15 minutes, or whatever it is. That's an exaggeration on the low side, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, you will keep propelling yourself. You will call yourself to get up and go do what it is you need to go do.
Yeah. Yeah. Because the suffering, if I don't do it, the suffering is so much greater. It's just
Yes.
get up. Just get up.
Get up and go do it. Yes. Yes.
Well, we've covered about a good amount of content. I don't want to, not that I don't feel that this content is terribly overwhelming for people, but I think this is a good point to pause. And I didn't even get through all the questions that I wanted, but I think it would be best to save that for part 3.
Excellent. I am all for everything. Yes. This is
Okay.
absolutely fabulous. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank our audience too, if they're, for tuning in and for having that openness to talk about things that are, I guess, esoteric and not, not normal conversation,
Normal conversation. Yes.
but normal to us, very normal to us.
Very normal for us, but I do scare people if I start talking in the grocery store. So,
And so I did, after the first episode, the first chapter, I did offer, questions and comments from people. I'm going to put that out there again. I mean, this was absolutely perfect, and I didn't even get through my questions, so it's just as well but I'm going to keep asking if you have any questions or comments to reach out to me so we can get them answered at some point. But yeah, I think this was great. I'm looking forward to part 3.
Me too, very much so. And I thank everyone for tuning in, and I thank you for your wisdom and your questions and the way you're doing everything. Just your energy is phenomenal. So thank you very much.